vamos a tener que pedirle que se vayan.
good. That's actually good.
Here.
That's good. Thank you.
Good? How are you? Kid. So, turn out like this. Yes. It's terrible.
Lo voy a poner aquí y ya nomás lo prendo. ¿Lo pagaste? Sí.
Matters related to the 2022-2023 budget. 7A, we'll open a public hearing at 6:58 for input on projects to be considered for fiscal year 2022-2023.
We open a hearing.
Got opened it at 6:58, so nobody speaks, so we'll close it at 6:59. Item,
You'll have the draft of the proposed budget at the next council meeting.
okay, so we'll have the proposed budget then. Okay, item 8, new business. Consider request from Humane Society of Uvalde to waive the fees for the use of Memorial Park and alcoholic beverage ordinance restricting the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages at the park for their event Bark in the Park scheduled for October the 1st, 2022.
No one here to speak?
There's Kelly.
Kelly.
Good evening. After a 2-year hiatus, COVID hiatus, we are back with plans to do a community-wide Bark in the Park, but we're changing it up a little bit this year, or requesting to change it up. First of all, it will be a community-wide with the, the contests, with the trick contest, the costume contest, mostly for the kids. There's an art show or an art contest that's, but it's also the official launch of our capital campaign to build our new shelter, which we have been talking about now for 5 years, I think. We hope that in just a couple of weeks, we are going to be able to make a public announcement of our cornerstone donation. And the official launch will come October 1st with Bark in the Park. So as part of that official launch, we're proposing to do a cornhole tournament with a benefit that evening and have some food trucks. And we are requesting both the waiver of the fee to use the park, and we're requesting permission to do a temporary beer and wine permit so that we can sell beer and wine at the cornhole tournament. And I will answer any questions that you have.
Motion to approve item 8A.
Second, Mayor.
Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 8B, consider approval of ordinance amending Chapter 2.88 of the Code of Ordinances regarding exception to the Hillcrest Cemetery rules for the graves of victims of the Robb School tragedy. And Ms. Rubio.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kimberly Rubio. I'm Lexi's mom. Burying my daughter was the hardest thing I have ever done. Her final resting place, Hillcrest Cemetery, is a place of solace. As such, it is important to me that her gravesite appropriately represent her. I come to you today to request a standing headstone, which is currently prohibited by the city. You have a copy of more or less what I want, and I urge you to honor my request. It's also been brought to my attention that some community members oppose my request. To that I say, if your child wasn't murdered in her 4th grade classroom, your opposition doesn't count.
Thank you. Ms. Welch.
Good evening. My husband and I are the owners of the Laguna Monument Company, and I wanted to speak on this. We are certainly not opposed to having upright headstones in Hillcrest Cemetery, but we are opposed to it being just for the victims of Robb tragedy. We have had many families come and ask to be able to put an upright headstone in Hillcrest Cemetery and have been told numerous times. So I feel like it should be for the entire town of Uvalde. Anyone that is buried in Hillcrest should be able to have an upright stone if this passes, not just the victims of Robb, as sad as it is. And they certainly are entitled to one, I feel like. But I'm also, I guess, arguing for the entire town, because I don't think it should be just for the victims. Okay. And then also another thing that I am concerned about if we go to the upright stones is, I guess, where are we going to stop with the size and the shapes and everything? What are going to be the guidelines of those stones? Or passes. Another one of my concerns is how they will be paid for. I know that the first stones were being paid for through donations from the city, and not from the city, but through the city. And so I've already billed the city for a large amount of that, and I still have some that has not been billed yet. So if I've had, I think, probably eight or nine headstones and benches and everything that have been ordered. And so I'm just going to need to know, how is this going to be handled? I've never had to cancel headstones before. I don't know that I can. I certainly will try. But our headstone orders go back between 8 months and a year because the granite is so slow coming in. So I feel like I can probably cancel some, if not all, of these headstones. But how is it going to work moving forward? Who is going to be responsible for those, paying, as far as the family's going to do it, or is the city going to continue to do it? I'm going to need some guidance on that.
I would think, my understanding, if we're talking about approving one of these headstones, for one of these victims, that the family would be responsible for that.
Responsible for what?
Paying for the headstone.
I think the city's been through donations.
Well,
has
the
been-
donations were made to pay for the headstones to the families. So those that have already got a headstone that's coming or whatever, and I think the fund is already looking at that money to see what's there to work with these families, however they need to work with them. There may be some that have to come out of pocket because they've already got their stone ordered or whatever, but I think that's something they'll be able to work out. I think that should be the least of our worries at this time. I think we can work that out.
Well, I'm certainly willing to work with them on that. So I think that's really my biggest concerns is, and also on the making of the stones is there going to be a requirement for there to be like a concrete slab underneath of it for a foundation to support that bigger headstone. So I definitely think that there needs to be, so I just would like to see some guidelines on that.
Sure, and I think that with the families and the city staff will get together and come to a conclusion that works, that will work for everybody. I think we're capable, and they'll be able to work together to get that done.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank
We
you.
will. Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Wait a minute, we still got more people who want to speak
More
on that
more
one.
people
Yeah.
to talk about it?
Yeah, Risa Rosenberg? Okay, all right, so, okay, now we can go, Chip, sorry.
I'm going to make a motion to approve item 8B. I think the families need to get together and with city staff, because we do need to come up with some guidelines from this day forward. I agree that probably in the newest sections of the cemetery, we probably don't need to just limit. We can say we can put upright headstones, but not in the other side because things are kind of established there already. If you are willing to work with staff and kind of come up with I did a lot of studying this weekend, and most cemeteries will say you can have this, this, and this, so things don't get out of whack. You have sprinkler systems, you got to try to work around those. And so if y'all will work with them, I want to approve item 8B with the context of you guys need to talk with city staff and come up with some guidelines. Is that okay? Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Balky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8C, consider establishing a permanent memorial to the victims of the Robb School tragedy on the plaza. And before everybody starts, I will say that the city staff and the families have been talking, and it seems like they were working together with a plan that will work for everybody. So if somebody's coming up to criticize, you know, it's your right to speak, but these families have been working with city staff to do something where the square could still be used by the rest of the community and so forth. So
I brought this up at the last meeting, and I want to thank the families, Kimberly, and everybody I've talked to over the last weekend. This is what I wanted, and I think we have a committee. No one else is going on that committee unless they want someone else on that committee. This is your committee, and you work with city staff, and I think we can have something really nice, what you guys want. That's what it's all about. I'll
Mr.
make
Rosenberg?
a
Well, now he wants to speak.
He's on that board. He's on that committee.
Yeah.
Since you already state that, I'm here to make sure to help them grant that, give them permission to go ahead and establish that memorial there at the plaza. So I applaud you all for doing that. So I know we all will support everything what the family wants, and it's for them actually, so they can have some peace of mind, not all of it, but some peace of mind. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is not on the agenda, is transparency and accountability of the law enforcement. I understand that it takes time to get reports, everything. I understand that, but since we haven't seen nothing, I don't know about the families, we haven't heard nothing anywhere, and I mean anywhere. I know at the very beginning, you were pushing, you even signed letters with Senator Gutierrez, everything. I hope you continue doing that, because the state, the way it looks, is they're sealing everything. You know, it's like, I'll let you know when I decide. You know, well, I understand that it takes time here in the city of Uvalde, but still, I hope it's not like what the DPS is doing, where they're sealing everything. And who knows, it might be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, who knows? So hopefully something will come out, and yourself or somebody here would say, this is what's going on. Even though that you cannot say much, but at least where is it?
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And
we need transparency and actually demanding accountability. That's the most important thing. Demand accountability and not let nothing just slip underneath.
And we have, as I've told the families, and I'll tell you, we have had this, we hired an outside investigator that not one city personnel, not anybody on this council or any of our police officers will be involved in. It's his team, and he's been on it about 2.5 weeks. So, I mean, he's already doing, we're not privy to his, we're not getting reports from him or anything, but other than we know he is doing things already. And we won't get that till he gets through with his report, so that nobody interferes with it, because we want a total outside hands, outside eyes, not us involved in it. Because that way when we get that report, it's not from somebody up here or not somebody in our own department that wrote it. It will be an outside deal that his credentials that we have seen and talked to people is pretty impressive.
You know, we just want to make sure that it's not the good old buddy system, basically that's what we don't want. And let me tell you, because that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing that can happen.
I can promise you, like I said, I got nothing to lose here. I can't get reelected or anything. I want the truth. I don't want any games played. I don't want anything. Look, I've said since day one, every agency has to be accountable. I've never changed that statement, and I still feel that way. Everybody that was there that day, whether it be school police, city police, state police, FBI, U.S. Marshals, Border Patrol, every agency that day has an accountability to not just the citizens of Uvalde, but to everybody in this country of what their actions were that day.
And I hope, you continue with Senator Gutierrez to go ahead and send letters to the governor, because it seems like it falls on deaf ears over there. He ain't doing nothing for Uvalde.
Well, I will tell you that Zavala County, Dimmitt County, and Val Verde County have all passed the same resolution that we did, asking for the governor to call a special session and change the age limit on guns. We got one tonight it came in a registered letter from Del Rio to send us theirs. Val Verde County did the same thing. Their city council is doing the same thing. So hopefully enough of us will get together that our voice will get heard.
Right. I hope so, because if not, like everybody knows, the next step is to vote. That's
Absolutely.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reese. So I'll make a motion. You want to talk on this? The memorial? We're talking about the memorial. Okay. Absolutely, go.
Yeah. Apologize for that, Mr. Mayor. Jesse Rizzo, regarding the memorial. On Wednesday, August 17th, most of the families met to begin the discussions on the memorial to honor the loved ones. One of the central points of discussion was the location, and the consensus is that they want at the Uvalde Plaza Square. That's what they're asking. They understand that the first step in this special thing that's about to take place, that it's getting approval from the board, from everybody, and we're hoping that takes place. We'd also like to thank Vince DiPiazza and Susan Anderson. They were there basically to provide us with the guidance. They were very clear that they're not there to provide input, like what's the design, anything like that. It's something that we would have to circle back anyhow. So we appreciate the time staying there late and stuff. So at this point, we're asking that hopefully the board will approve and grant their wishes. Everybody's a consensus. Most of the families were there. We tried reaching out to the ones that couldn't make it and stuff, but it's something that on a personal note, it as painful as things are for the families, it was, and my brother told me this, he says, you haven't really been around them, and he's been with a lot of the families a lot more than I have. He says, but you're gonna see something beautiful. You're gonna see how they communicate with each other. You're gonna see how they come together, and you just sit back and enjoy the beauty of the families. And I was touched by that, and I was honored. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that, but I apologize again for not putting my name on the list. Do y'all have any questions for me?
So we appreciate y'all running to work with the city and be considerate of that plaza. I mean, it should be a place there, but we have other people, and we appreciate that y'all are willing to be considered in that respect too.
Thanks, sir.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
I should say that one of the things that we thought that the families might be concerned about is that this is a kind of a focal point of our town. Lots of activity takes place there. We have parties, we have Foursquare Friday, we have all that stuff. But we wanted to make sure that they understood that, we're okay with that, and consensus was there. They want their loved ones memorialized as part of the activity of the community.
Absolutely.
I think we can find a way to be respectful of them and still have those community celebrations in that space. So,
That's what it should be.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you. We've got two more people on the ship. Mr. Morgan?
I wanted to say that the Monument Builders Association, which is Texas, Louisiana, I mean, lots and lots of monument builders, they have offered to help the families in any way with a memorial if they need help designing it, setting it up, whatever. So that offer stands if they need anything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mendel Morgan. I grew up in Uvalde. It's my hometown, and I'm honored to be back to serve in the library, to a place where I felt so much was given to me. I did not realize that a committee had been appointed regarding the memorial at the plaza. So the remarks I had, I think I would like to share better with the committee, because I had some specific ideas that I hope might be an option that might be useful. So if I may, I'll reserve that then for another time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carew?
Good evening, council, family members, visitors, media. Diana Olvedo Carew. I was a little confused, and the only reason I placed myself on the comment list for this item, first of all, I want to preface my remarks by thanking the council for working so quickly with the families on this memorial, because it's probably one of the first things that's happened within 2 weeks, unlike many of the other things that we continue to wait on. But I was a little bit confused because when I saw that item on the agenda, because at the last meeting, Councilman King had asked for a committee to be established. And so when I saw that item, I was confused about whether was a committee established, and now there's an action item to actually create a memorial. A site has been chosen, so it moved really quickly, so I was wanting clarification. You have obviously answered those questions as part of your preface before this discussion, and the family's desires.
The families spoke, they established their own committee, and we support them 100%.
And again, that's great. I just needed clarification because it was a little confusing from what was approved last meeting and the item that's up for action tonight. So, but thank you.
They've done wonderful.
Yes, I understand that, and I'm really glad that that place will be memorialized on their children's behalves, and the city of Uvalde can be proud of at least one thing that has been done so far to begin to work towards healing for these families. Long overdue, so thank you. And since I'm up here and you allowed Mr. Risa to veer from the subject, I did have a question about the investigation, the internal investigation on the police department. At the county commissioners meeting on Monday, Councilman Yackel made a comment that I wish to have you respond to. He indicated that he had spoken to somebody from the city that had told him that even though you're in the midst of an internal investigation, and you've assured us, the community, and the families several times that that investigation is going to move quickly, you're going to look at those recommendations seriously and take action on them. His statement was that you would not be doing anything with that report until after the end of the criminal investigation, so that it would be held, no action. And so I would like the council to respond. Was he correct, incorrect, didn't understand?
Here's how I respond to that. Number one, we're doing an investigation. If in that investigation the DA is investigating officers from a criminal standpoint at that point, then that will be excluded. That point will be excluded for our investigation because it will be in her hands at that point. And at that point, she'll come and address that. But we're reviewing every aspect in this review of the police department, from every officer's actions that day that was at that scene. There were 25, every officer there, and every policy that we have in place. And we will come out with that. But if there is a criminal investigation that pertains to that at that point, then we will talk to the district attorney, and if she says no, that part can't come out. But we will be transparent and tell you. We can't release that part. But
No. And my primary question is, aside from a criminal piece that might come from this investigation that the DA is going to have to consider, because it's a criminal charge, if you will, those are my words, if they recommend discipline and reprimand and possible termination based on the findings of that investigation, that is an employee issue. Will you take action on those recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Let me see, I think there's, no, that's the last one.
Vince wants to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, I was getting back to the memorial issue. Ms. Carew was commenting on how quickly things moved. The council sort of drafted a couple of individuals, Mr. Risa and Mr. Riso, and they're the ones that moved on this, and the families cooperated and basically, I'm not sure which one of you all did the organization, the one who we were talking to that was doing all the phone calls and putting things together, but that's also part of the reason why it moved quickly, because they didn't let it crash. So I wanted to make sure those two individuals got some credit.
Things usually run a lot smoother when the government's out of it.
Absolutely.
I feel like I need to clarify something though. The microphone, or taxpayer money. So I throw a little joke once in a while. The committee hasn't been formed or anything like this. This was a totally informal thing, just kind of kick things off at the beginning of the phases, but the committee hasn't been formed.
It's the committee. It's now the committee.
Right, yeah. Eventually, we'll let the families, decide on all that, so.
I think they talked about maybe getting a smaller group to work on more details. I don't remember if that was.
That's exactly right, yes, sir.
So it's probably
We're
not going to
leaving,
meet.
we're leaving that for y'all's direction, and if you need our assistance, then we'll be there, but we're leaving that for y'all.
Okay, cool, thank you.
So, I've been trying to do this for a while. I want to make a motion to approve item 8C. There are some other things that are going on for other memorials that are going to happen, little things, and you guys are the leaders of that group. So I want to make sure y'all remember that. Get yourself established, become a good committee, and we'll keep moving on that. So motion to approve item 8C.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8D, consider nominating candidates to serve on the board of directors for the Uvalde County Appraisal District. And we don't have to nominate tonight, we just have to start getting names.
Yes. What you think?
You wanted to speak on this, Ms. Carew?
Once again, Diana Olvedo Carew. I wanted to address the council on this particular agenda item. One is to let you know that I am interested in being considered as an individual to serve on the Uvalde County Appraisal District Board. When I moved back to Uvalde in 2018, I did indicate to the council, and I don't think all of you were seated maybe Mr. Luevano, that I was interested in being considered. At that time, unfortunately, I hadn't lived here long enough in order to be a candidate, but I have been here now 4 years, and I would appreciate the opportunity to be a nominee for one of those positions. I don't know if the individuals whose terms have expired